Andrew Carnegie was born in Dunfermline, a small working-class town in southern Scotland, on November 25, 1835, to Margaret and William Carnegie. He began his elementary school education in Dunfermline when he was only 8 years old. He did attend night school when he began work after moving to the United States, but the 4 years he spent in the one-room school in Scotland was his only formal education. In May of 1848, because of economic problems, the Carnegie family sailed across the Atlantic and settled in Pittsburgh. While attending night school, he worked there as a bobbin boy in a cotton factory for $1.20 per week, and then as an engine boy for $2. Later, he was offered the chance to become a clerk for the factory after showing off his impressive penmanship. Next, he worked as a telegraph operator at a local company, where he caught the eye of executive Thomas A. Scott.
Come in.
Good morning, Mr. Scott. My name is Andrew Carnegie.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Carnegie. You're here for?
I'm here to apply for a job.
Oh, please take a seat.
Thank you.
In 1853, at the age of 18, Carnegie took a job at the Pennsylvania Railroad's Western Division, where he later became personal telegrapher and assistant to Thomas Scott, the division superintendent.
Your pay would be $35 a month, and I'll make sure that you learn the ins and outs of the railroad industry.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
No, thank you.
In his time at the Pennsylvania Railroad, Carnegie learned much about the American business world. He also made innovations there, such as keeping the telegraph office open 24 hours a day and burning railroad cars after accidents, making train travel faster, safer, and more efficient. At the age of 24, he was appointed to Scott's former position of superintendent, but he left the company 6 years later to pursue business ventures. Carnegie began by investing in small companies.
How may I help you, sir?
Oh, it's about money making investment.
How much would you need?
$217.50.
Okay, please fill out the following forms.
Carnegie's entrepreneurship began with a small loan from a local bank to invest in the Woodruff Sleeping Car Company. After about 2 years, he started receiving a return of about $5,000 annually, more than 3 times his salary from the railroad. In the following years, he would take the money from this investment in order to invest in oil. And by 1868, Carnegie's net worth had grown to about $400,000. He would continue investing and buying companies throughout his life.
Here you go.
Thank you. Good day.
You too.
Due to the amount of shares he owned in the company, Carnegie, along with other associates, established the Keystone Bridge Company with the goal of building more durable bridges through iron rather than wood. 2 years later, he would also establish the Keystone Telegraph Company, expanding Pennsylvania's telegraph line all the way across the entire state. Along with the Keystone companies, Carnegie also purchased iron mills in Pittsburgh. The Civil War had created an enormous demand for iron, and Carnegie took advantage of this to further increase his wealth. In 1872, Carnegie traveled to England, where he saw Henry Bessemer's steel plants. Carnegie's iron companies had been using the Bessemer method of producing iron for years, and seeing the commercial potential of steel, Carnegie decided to expand his industries to include steel when he returned to America. 3 years later, back in America, Carnegie opened his first steel plant in Braddock, Pennsylvania. It was called the Edgar Thomson Works and would lead to Carnegie dominating the steel market for years. Using the profits from this first steel company, he bought many other plants to expand his empire: the Homestead Steel Works, the Hartman Steel Works, the Duquesne Steel Works, and others.
You've been one of my largest customers since I started this coal company 10 years ago. I'm sure that a merger would be beneficial to both of us.
Indeed, I do require your coach on your plans, and I believe that my assets can help you pursue your ventures.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Very well.
Carnegie started out with an 11% share in Frick's company, but eventually that number grew until he became a majority shareholder. This later led to disagreements and tensions between the two. In 1883, Carnegie decided to buy Homestead Works, which in 1892 would have its workers break out into a strike and strip away his image as a friend of the worker.
Can't let Carnegie get away with this, John.
He's right. We've been watching him for several years now, and it seems he's finally decided to make his move. Our finances are at stake here, John.
I know that. It's become too much of a threat to our corporate empire. He must be bought out.
In 1898, Carnegie decided to produce finished products and ended up competing directly with some of J.P. Morgan's interests. The next year, Carnegie organized many of his steel companies into one, the Carnegie Steel Company. In an effort to keep his business pursuits stabilized, J.P. Morgan considered buying out Carnegie as a top priority. Eventually, Carnegie slowly began moving out of business. In 1901, he sold out to J.P. Morgan. With that, Carnegie entered retirement and made philanthropy the principal goal of his life.
deal, correct?
Yes, for $480 million, you will hand over Carnegie Steel Company to me, which will allow me to create U.S. Steel Corporation and make it the richest man in the world.
The sale is going to be my last business venture. Okay, Irfan, I'm now handing the burden over to you.
With every achievement I made to become wealthy, many have suffered from my selfish gains. It is the obligation of the wealthy to return their money to the societies where they made.
In his later years after selling out to J.P. Morgan, Carnegie became a philanthropist, giving away $350 million with the same creativity and energy that led to its accumulation. Within a decade or so, he established numerous institutions such as the Carnegie Corporation, which provides aids for colleges, universities, technical schools, and research, a teachers fund, an international peace fund, as well as over 3,000 libraries worldwide.
The man who dies rich dies disgraced.
Carnegie died on August 11, 1919, at Shadowbrook, his estate in Massachusetts, due to bronchial pneumonia. Years after his death, his daughter Margaret continued to be a trustee of the Carnegie Corporation in New York. She became a lifetime member from 1973 until her death.